base year 623X, an irregular gravitating phenomenon was found near the planet Menon. Menon is a planet near the frontier of Fantasy Zone. To investigate this phenomenon, a space patrol was launched. During the voyage, the science patrol encountered a military troop and were attacked. Communication to the operation base in the Fantasy Zone was completely cut off. The military troop turned out to be the Dark Menon Force, who was planning to conquer the Fantasy Zone. The Dark Menon Force has been taking over planets in the way to the Fantasy Zone and leaving a trail of destruction behind them. With no able to defeat this deadly invasion force, the Fantasy Zone seems doomed to be conquered. O Papa, father of hero Opa Opa, launched a counterattack to stop the Dark Menon Force. His attempt turned out to be futile. O Papa and his once mighty armada have been destroyed by the enemy's mighty force, and O Papa was fatally wounded during the attack. Now there is no stopping the invading troops. Opa Opa, having heard his father's fate, vowed to avenge his father's death and restore peace to the Fantasy Zone. Alright, despite the shitty translation efforts, there's double the amount of storyline than I was expecting. I mean, I'm not even sure if the Fantasy Zone games have connecting storylines or not, so maybe I'll look that up one day. Maybe. My first meeting with Opa Opa was back when he or she was still on the brink of becoming yet another SEGA mascot. That's right, Opa Opa, a sentient spaceship, is regarded as one of SEGA's first mascots, with SEGA also pushing Alex Kidd, Wonder Boy, Shinobi, and a Ferrari Testarossa. They just couldn't find the right character. That was until that pesky blue hedgehog came along, but we'll save him for another video. Opa Opa is a cute little spaceship with angel wings and tiny little feet. It's hard to tell if Opa Opa is a creature or a machine. It does have a cockpit and a windshield, but then again, it has a father too, so yeah, no idea. Opa Opa resides in the Fantasy Zone, interestingly the same place that Space Harrier is set, although I don't think the two games ever really get intertwined, besides the odd enemy appearing here or there. I owned the Master System version of Fantasy Zone when I was younger, a fairly faithful port of the original arcade game. It was the only game that my dad bought me out of the blue, for no reason. He just came home from work one day and handed it to me. I later found out that my dad has great taste in games and actually pretty good at them too. At the time the box art left a little to be desired and honestly didn't fill me with excitement, and the screenshot on the back looked a little childish. But considering that I only ever got games for my birthday or Christmas, I quickly ran upstairs and slammed the cartridge in and tried it out on my black and white telly. Well, it was the 80s. I didn't really get it at first. Besides Space Invaders, this was my first real shoot 'em up. The idea is you have to destroy the 10 enemy bases. That's actually less on the Master System due to power limitations. After the bases are destroyed, you face the level's boss. You can fly in any direction and the level loops round and round until you destroy all of the bases. This sounds simple enough, but once you get deeper into the levels, the enemies get really overwhelming. I wanted to play Fantasy Zone again, so I started looking to which was the best experience I could get without too much messing about. The Master System version is still good, but the graphics look a bit dated compared to the other ports, so I went looking over there. It's surprising how many ports there are, the most notable being the original arcade, obviously, which I'll have to use an emulator, the PC Engine, but I'm not mega rich. The NES version, which to me, playing a SEGA game on a Nintendo is just not right. Later releases were on compilations for the PlayStation 2 or the Wii Virtual Console or on the 3DS for example. But with all that considered, I went for a sort of remaster. Released in 1992 in Japan and Europe only, Super Fantasy Zone found its way onto the SEGA Megadrive. This is the last game in the series to be released, but honestly, it's pretty much the same as the first. The graphics are nice and the soundtrack is awesome and it plays perfectly. Sometimes the backgrounds are too bright or too focused. They look really nice but can be a distraction at times, especially in the later levels when stuff starts flying around all over the place. My advice would be to go into the options and give yourself 5 lives. You're gonna need them, and there's no continues in this game at all, so once your 5 lives are up, that's it. Start from the beginning, no matter what level you died on. You can, in fact, purchase new lives in the shop. Oh yeah, the shop. When you destroy enemies and bases, coins drop to the ground, and you can spend these coins at a randomly appearing shop. The shop sells upgrades, some bigger wings to make you fly faster, different weapons and bombs, and even some rubber boots. So of course collecting enough money before the shop appears is a good idea. I always try to avoid touching it for as long as possible. It always appears at the beginning of the level, and the guns you can purchase are time limited, so you never really have a chance to use them on any of the bosses. The bombs, however, they do stick around. If you die whilst wearing your newly purchased gear, you lose it all. Oh, and once you've purchased something from the shop, its price increases by quite a bit. It even gets sold out sometimes. Personally, big wings and double bombs is normally enough to see me through, although some weapons kick the absolute shit out of bosses. Speaking of bosses, this is where the game is at its best. Challenging but not too hard to figure out in a few tries. I don't like to review games I haven't finished, so 2 weeks ago I started plumbing away. The most notable thing was the starting over and over when I died. At first I was losing a couple of lives on the first level, then I found myself getting better with each turn. In effect, I'm actually learning the game. I'm progressing because I'm getting better, not because I fluked it once and managed to save. And whilst being really annoying, getting to level 6 for the 10th time only to lose all my lives again, it sort of makes me appreciate beating each level and value what little lives I have left. At this point the cute aesthetics are unnoticeable. I'm playing this game and I'm loving it. Once the enemies start firing back at level 4 or level 5, it gets really difficult. One mistake and you're dust. By now I've forgotten all about Opa's father. I couldn't give a shit, honestly. It's more a personal thing now. As I say, it took me just over 2 weeks, at least 2 hours a day, and finally I got my money shot. I beat this bitch into the ground. She was a tough dragon to wrangle, but I finally managed to bob and weave my way through all 8 stages, a fucking boss rush, and a final battle. With no continue or save. God damn it, I'm so tired. To be continued. What? It started again. A new game plus. No fucking way. I am out. The grind to get this far was enough for me. There's no way I'm going to tackle all of that again. Super Fantasy Zone is a fantastic game. It holds up still today, and honestly, if you can commit to playing it, it will drag you through the mud and shit on your cornflakes before you get through the other side. But my oh my, it's totally worth it. So if I was to give Super Fantasy Zone on the SEGA Megadrive a rating, I believe we're doing it in percentages, I would give it a 87%. That is just a number I plucked out of thin air. So, yeah. Look, if you enjoyed this video, then please think about subscribing, giving it a thumbs up. If you want to hear some audio content by the Arcade Attack lads, well, they do a podcast. You can get that on all podcast places like Spotify, iTunes, Google Music, is it called? Amazon Music, Google Play. We also have a Patreon over at patreon.com/arcadeattack, where we have exclusive content, exclusive merch, audio shows about sexy books. So if you want to support us in a monetary sense, get over there, get your bonus content, sell it a couple of quid. It's like literally buying us a coffee. And that will go through to paying website hosting, podcast hosting, equipment, food for my children. Maybe. If Dylan actually lets them eat this week. We had bread last week with butter. Loved it. Maybe this week he'll toast that bread for us and put some beans on top or something. One day he might let us out into the yard. Okay, thanks. Bye.